Delores invades the Mesa to retrieve her father and cut the chains from her people. Ford reveals the truth behind Delos' secret project, and a lot of people get shot. A lot of them. It's HBO's Westworld, Season 2, Episode 7, Les Escorches. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Westworld. So yes, of course, spoilers are ahead. And God, so much happened in this episode. Really, just chock full from beginning to end. I think I could talk for 2 hours about what happened in this 1 hour of show. And I know you probably don't want to sit around and listen to me do all that, so I'm going to try and get things kind of quick. I'm going to try and just move on. There are a few main themes I do sort of want to hit on here. And first off, of course, is the main theme of this episode, which is really that idea of creation, of supplanting what has been around, and in some ways an evolution. A lot of points about the hosts and how they were made. You know, they were designed to be made in man's image, which is an interesting reflection, is sort of man being made in God's image idea. And now we have kind of the next evolution of that story, hosts being made in humanity's image as a reflection of their humanity, of their wants, of their desires, of their needs. And again, this is hit on in several points. Angela has that great discussion there in the cradle with the soldier, who, by the way, if you are hunting hosts, just shoot them. That's the whole plan. You're going to end up shooting them anyway. Don't let them just seduce you and sucker you in and use your own explosives to complete their objective. Just a thought. But then, of course, we also have Delores speaking about that with Hale. And God, that really very disturbing, very wonderfully done sequence. How again, she is talking about, you've created us in your image, and now you want to be us. You've done such a good job of creating this perfect kind of form, but we're different from you. We don't die, we last. So now you can see our advantages. Now you want to come and be one of us. So it's not only just the creation idea, but again, that supplanting, that evolution, that the host's now moving above and beyond humanity, and now humanity is working to do all of its catch-up with the hosts, which of course is what our whole secret project is, as we've suspected. And yes, our secret project. A lot of discussion going on straight from the get-go. And we are seeing that this is obviously something that's revealed through this episode. It's what Stubbs first starts talking to Bernard with in our future post 2 weeks scenario flash forward bit, which was great. I love seeing Stubbs trying to really negotiate and work himself through this new situation. Obviously with Coughlin, he was just kind of put on secondary duty, and now he's really working to play catch-up, but looking to survive. As he tells Bernard, they're after this special project thing. It's a special project, and they're going to kill anybody. Once they get it, they're going to kill anybody else that knows about it. So I like Stubbs really trying to get on top of things. But of course, we do have that wonderful abduction of him and Bernard taking down into Ford's old house, and quite an interesting reveal. And here, also in the midst of this, we have Hale talking about how this special project is the next step in humanity, and human evolution. So, again, we're really hitting this on straight off from the beginning of the episode. And while I had to kind of laugh, because it was a really creepy reveal when we get in and we find all of the other Bernards. And you gotta think, even for Bernard, who knows that he is a host, that's gotta be a weird experience to go in and find a bunch of your own skeletons in the closet. As Hale said, I knew there were skeletons in your closet, Bernard, but I didn't think those were of you. Again, that would be a creepy moment, but can we acknowledge just how odd it is to have a secret lab hidden inside of another hidden secret lab? Because to get to that downstairs, you had to go through the fake wall thing and down, and it was all, super quiet. Behind a door, there's a whole nother secret lab. I thought that was funny. It amused me. So that gets on, and then of course immediately after that we have Hale starting to torture Bernard. Is it the waterboarding through his programming and stuff, which is showing just humanity. I mean, we have Ford gives some great reasons of why humanity shouldn't be going on, this perfect kind of killing machine that's been dominating the planet, and immediately we're following back into this, which is, again, really does set up that dichotomy here between humanity and the host, in some way how many of the hosts are more humane than the people. But that does, speaking of secret projects, get us to our Scene of the Week for this week. And there were many choices. Many choices. I just like this one because it's a reveal and we have Anthony Hopkins. And that is, of course, The Stroll Through Sweetwater, where Anthony Hopkins, where Ford lays out the whole Delos secret project. Very coolly done. I mean, we're thinking all this time is that they're collecting data. We've had suspicions that this is what it is, that they're trying to extend humanity, that this is some secret thing. You know, we've caught all of this. But I think Ford revealing the beautiful design of the park, how the whole thing really is based around this project of copying humanity and giving them that chance for eternal life. That digitization of man, going from analog to digital, as Ford says. How all of the narratives keep repeating because you need a constancy. That is what the hosts are. They are the constant within this equation, whereas the guests are all of the variables. And so through all of their interactions, each one reveals a trueness to themselves. Because it's the great thing about the park. There's no judgment here. You can be whoever you want. And I'm sure the more that you visit, the more that you are going to drift into your own true self, how your actual motivations are, the reasons why you make certain decisions. You try all of the options and then you keep sticking with the one that feels most correct to you. And that's what the whole parks are designed around. And I mean, it is a brilliant bit where it's not, they're spying on them, they're not just trying to copy DNA, they're not just trying to do these small little things. The entire design of the park is specifically to measure responses to people, to gather information on their true selves in order to create a digital copy of them. But it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work the way that Delos has wanted it. Not entirely, which is kind of a bit of an interesting sort of evolution. I was wondering where they were at this stage. But as Ford says, out in the world, he would fall apart just like we saw Delos did. You know, he would either, lose his mind or completely degrade. But in the cradle, staying in that digital form, that is a way to perpetuate the program, to keep it consistent, to have that fidelity. So that was really, again, kind of a cool thing to see. Is there's a reason why Ford is stuck in here, why he hasn't made a copy of himself, and why he is doing this whole act. So I love that whole sequence. I mean, everything with Anthony Hopkins in this episode was awesome. But that whole opening bit, just telling us the truth about the project, what it's designed, how the park's designed around it, and that the truth is it doesn't quite work. Not yet. But I think Ford has discovered the way to make it work. After that, of course, we find out a little bit more of the truth about Bernard himself. Obviously, we knew that he was designed off of Arnold, but he wasn't designed when Arnold was alive. There wasn't any of that information there. Delos' project hadn't established. This is when it was still the whole Westworld idea of just between Ford and Arnold. So the whole development of Bernard, I thought, was really informative. And it also lets us know that all of those scenes between Delores and Bernard, which we were wondering, was this in the past, which was in the future, and even last week's we were talking about fidelity and seeming, oh, this is the current Delores designing Bernard in order to be this infiltrator. No! This is the actual design of Bernard himself, of the Arnold inside of Bernard, and that Delores was the necessary point. She was the one that knew him the most. And I love that reveal. It was me and her, mostly her, it was sort of a great little whole reveal there of all these scenes that we're seeing. And how important, we've always seen the strong connection between Delores and Arnold, obviously, and it extends to Bernard. Here, it was a great kind of bit of reveal of seeing how long Ford has really been working on this project and what is it that makes Bernard unique. And I think that's something that Delos and William and all of them developing their secret project wasn't able to do, because all of Bernard's development happened inside the cradle where it was stable, where they could control everything until they had their true fidelity, as Ford said, until Bernard could fool Delores. And it was until then that he was able to come out into the world. And I'm wondering if it's keeping the Bernard mask is what's preventing the Arnold inside from falling apart. Again, it's interesting. We know Bernard's based on Arnold, but I think there's really a lot of Arnold hidden inside of Bernard. And the Bernard mask is what's keeping him functional. I think that's maintaining the fidelity. Now, Maeve had a bit of a journey herself this episode. Obviously, starting off, trying to rescue her daughter, running from the Ghost Nation, running to hide. Fortunately, just happens to be the exact same place that old William is traveling into. And yeah, that you could see it coming, because we've all seen the past history things. We know the Man in Black and Maeve, and you know, when she had her daughter and there had that history, we got to see some of those flashbacks in this episode. So seeing old William coming into the scene and how all this was, there was so much tension just intrinsic in that setup. And I was wondering where it was going to go, and I have to say, I didn't expect it to go this way. I was wondering if William might have just sort of ignored Maeve. I mean, it does sort of in a way start off with the whole, again, he's thinking everything is designed, as Ford has designed around him. He doesn't get that Ford's really letting chaos reign, that free reign is what his true purpose behind all of this is. The fact that William is still thinking everyone is there as Ford's mouthpiece is hilarious. So I was wondering how this was gonna happen. I mean, I didn't think that William necessarily had a reason to be going after Maeve in this particular situation. Maeve, however, very stuck with all of her memories, very strongly reacting to all of this. I don't know where she got the gun from, but that was just sort of a perfect shot. And man, William just got it handed to him through this whole sequence. I did not expect that to happen. I mean, he gets hit in both shoulders, and then Maeve goes up. William's running away, and then Maeve uses her Wi-Fi power, or I guess it's really more mesh network, as they were hitting on with the whole thing. We'll get to that. To control all of the rest of William's compatriots there to turn against him, except Lawrence, which I thought was interesting. And maybe I think maybe Maeve's power works depending on how free the individual hosts are. Some hosts being more free than others, and if they're relatively free from their programming, Maeve has less control over them. So the little background characters and the NPCs and all of that, they're fine with it, whereas our more, you know, hero characters or well-known people don't have the same reaction off of. So I love that little bit how Lawrence was actually fighting Maeve to turn on the Man in Black, and all Delores had to do was sort of access the memories, because yes, William has done a lot of bad stuff over the years, and those are stuck all in everybody's memories. And it only takes the seeing that William has killed his wife for Lawrence to turn on William. So I love that whole little bit. And yeah, it did get shocking. I mean, he turns and he shoots, and we got William down. He's got one to the chest. He's already gotten shot in the arms, legs. Got shit in the somewhere down there. Looked really close. That made me nervous. And then, of course, we have Lee's rescue show up, because, of course, he made the phone call, and they show, and they take out Lawrence, and they shoot Maeve, which surprised the heck out of me. I know William pulled himself away, but I don't really know. I don't really know how he's going to last with that many bullet holes in him. He's got to get a med kit quick. Now, the daughter did escape, or more to the point, was picked up by the Ghost Nation. So I think she's actually fine. Again, the Ghost Nation doesn't seem, well, they were killing hosts, they were saving guests, but they seem to be on their own quest. There seems to be kind of in their own position right here. So I actually think the daughter is safe with the Ghost Nation. They had recognized that Maeve was someone different, someone worth saving, of moving forward. So they may be holding on to the daughter, I think. That's sort of what I feel. I don't think this is the last that we've seen of them. But we did have then Lee taking Maeve back to the Mesa, which, again, very intense. But I do want to hit on the last scene, where we do have Delores then coming down, and we have that little encounter between Maeve and Delores, because I found that really interesting. I mean, Delores obviously coming that strong position of authority, of power, of making things happen. And when she looked at Maeve and saying, how are you here? The woman that I recognized would never have allowed this to happen. Well, Maeve's going after her kid. Her kid. And was it that Delores responds, "A kin are just a chain that they use to tie us down with." Which is funny considering she was just doing the whole bit with her dad. Which I'll also touch on in just a second. But it was kind of an interesting point out there where even Delores is looking like, look, I could just take you out right now, save you from all of this, from the torture, from them tearing you apart, taking away the best parts of you. But she gives her a choice, which I find interesting. Now, is a response off of Maeve's remark off of Teddy? And no, Maeve wasn't there to see Teddy reprogram, but she does have that mesh network connection, that little Wi-Fi. So I think she recognized, first of all, just visually, that Teddy is not the good guy actor right now, that he is definitely quick on the draw and quick on the murder, which is not like old Teddy. But I'm wondering if, with her little mesh network connection there, she's able to recognize that Teddy's programming has been changed. And of course, there's really only one person in this group that would have done that, and that's Delores. So I'm wondering if Maeve remarked how she didn't give Teddy any choice, did that motivate Delores to then allow Maeve to have that choice at the end? Because it was just, it's interesting. Delores is authoritative. Maeve is all about choice, but Delores gave Maeve that choice to stay if she wanted to. So I thought that was kind of an interesting turnaround. Now, what I think may be real interesting is Lee. Because I don't think Lee's such a bad guy. He did save Maeve. He did tell the security team, not her, she's special. And yes, it could be to interview and to piece apart and figure out the programming and do all of that. But I'm wondering, especially after overhearing that conversation between Delores and Maeve, is Lee going to be reapproaching things? Is he going to be the one to save Maeve and decide that maybe this is not something to subject her to? She saved him. Is he going to really save her? Also, what happened to Felix? They need Felix. He ran to help, but we didn't see what happened to him. Lee needs Felix. Fix Maeve. That's the choice. Like I had mentioned before, a great scene between Charlotte Hale and Delores. Charlotte definitely not caring about anything or anyone except getting that data out. You got to admit her. You got to love her conviction. But just God, that scene between the two of them going back and forth, I thought was just was beautiful. I mean, Charlotte's actually trying to appeal to Delores, like that's gonna work. And then the saw cutter. What was the line that she used? An eye for an eye, but everything else first. Ah! And going up, and it's going to cut open the brain head, and there's ah! And I love that Stubbs was able to do the distraction and to get them away and do all of those moments. I mean, again, I love the whole development of the scene, and obviously the big discussion about humanity versus hosts and replacing who and all that. That was all beautifully done. But I really love those last little moments between Delores and her dad. It was a very touching way to say goodbye, and you could tell this was a goodbye. Throughout the whole bit, it was again, this is the humanity inside the bots, is how much they're fighting, and they have those connections. There is family in their own eyes. They are real in their own way. They are the next step, as Ford was putting it. So I love that they had that real honest emotional connection, that very heartfelt goodbye. And that it ends as she says, "Are you ready, Daddy?" Yeah, and then you don't see it, you just hear it off the zzz of the sawed. You know, she's going right into, you pull out the brain, and it's, again, touching, and then ending it on such a perfect, disturbing note. And all of our security teams trying to stand up against the host. I mean, you got to hand it to them. They tried. Coughlin's tech had that whole idea, again, using the vests to connect with the host mesh network, so that you could tell which directions they were coming in. That was useful for like 5 seconds. That was kind of cool. But it didn't last. Just totally taken out. I love the reversal, how they took out the security team and then used their own weapons and gear against the other team. That was perfect. The last stand of Clementine was wonderful. I mean, she's already kind of damaged and stuff. They'd already messed up her system there. But how she gets to go out in just a beautiful blaze of glory was wonderful. And then it all leads up to that big final sequence that we have in the control room, which is shot beautifully, all in slow motion as Bernard's just wandering through, and we have Ford as like the little Jiminy Cricket just directing him around. And I guess at that point, since they had destroyed the cradle and left, and Ford had copied himself onto Bernard's system, or copied a Bernard onto his system, I'm still not entirely sure how that worked itself out. That now the system was freed, was released. But at that point, if Bernard shuts it down, that frees all of the hosts from any of the controls. The cradle is already taken out. There is no backup for them. With the system shut down, there is no way to follow. There's no way to track. There's no way to control all of the hosts. So, I mean, it was a beautifully done sequence. I thought was great. Had to say goodbye to Coughlin, of course, here. He went up against Teddy, and Teddy is, I mean, already a gunslinger, and now is like super psycho gunslinger. That many punches to the face is definitely going to take him out. I don't think Coughlin was going for an open casket funeral after that. Really, all that bit I just thought was so beautifully done. Really, just the host just instilling fear on everyone around. But yeah, I love that last slow-mo sequence in the control room. It was just beautifully done. Just a couple of small things. One, my favorite line of the night comes from Elsie after she finally gets Bernard and they're leaving the cradle. "If we survive all of this, I'm going back to dental school." I don't see Elsie as a dentist, but I get her motivation. Also appreciate Stubbs' motivation throughout this to try and get tired of playing second fiddle, tired of being kicked around, wants a promotion, and I love his insistence on that. Charlotte's not going to tell him what's going on, pulls a gun on Abernathy to the head. "I want a promotion. Tell me what's going on." I thought that was perfectly done. As I said, I'm really enjoying Ashley Stubbs. I really love that. I appreciate that they seem to be giving him a little bit more things to do, serving a little more proactive role. And after saving Charlotte there from Delores, damn, I think he deserves that promotion. Did you notice how we have a lot of faceless bots? I mean, they're hosts, but they have little masks on to sort of conceal their face. They're using it just to have like faceless hosts that you can take out and not identify with any particular actor. Is that the way they're reusing stunt people? Not sure. Just thought that was sort of an interesting add-on. Maybe it's stealing from all the security people. But, nah, still seemed something new. Now, I know at the end we have Bernard seemingly giving Charlotte the location of Abernathy's cranium there, of all of the data. But do we really think that that's actually in the Valley Beyond? Do you really think that that's where Abernathy is, or is that a trap? Is that one of the last jobs that Bernard is doing, is suckering all of the rest of the humans into an ambush or something? Oh yeah, and in that they're talking about he's running processes, like he's debugging his own brain. Is he trying to get rid of the Ford within him? Is that the same Bernard? Is that the same control chip? Is this a different Bernard that's maybe just running on a surface program, kind of like Abernathy was? A lot of suspicion, especially since we know there's a lot more Bernard bodies out there. Oh, and I love the use of reflection for Ford there, as he is talking with Elsie in the hallways, and we're just seeing the reflections of Ford in the glass as kind of that presence in the back of Bernard's mind. I just thought that was beautifully done. Also love how the extractor there reseals the head, so it doesn't notice that they just cut a hole through the top of the skull. It's useful, especially if you want to keep using that host body. Oh, yeah, and the final shot of Bernard going off with the security team with the machine gun. Don't worry, Bernard. This isn't going to be your fault, because you're being controlled by Ford. Still, an awesome shot of those flashes in the darkness. Alright, well I think that covers at least all the big stuff. I can see we're going long, so I want to sort of wrap things up before it gets too carried away here. So we've got several episodes left. This is 7. We're going up to 10, so 3 more. Looks like next week we're going to be heading into Ghost Nation territory. Kind of see what's been going on with them, which is important. I think we need that kind of background to sort of see what... There's definitely something of importance going on with that group. They are reacting differently than all the rest of the hosts. So I think it's going to be important to sort of see what that part of the story is and how that's going to lead us to our Valley Beyond and our big final confrontation, which you know is coming up. Now free from the system, Delores could potentially just go and kill them all, and there's nothing to stop her. Will she do that, or is she just working to save her people? Hopefully revenge will not overtake her. Maeve, I'm hoping Lee does the right things, fixes her up, and she gets to go find her kid. I'll have to wait till next week to find out all of that, but thank you so much for joining me with this review. And if you liked it, you know, go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, you know where to put them, down in the section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not. It's quick and easy, one button hit to catch all these reviews. Plus, we got Preacher coming up this summer. A whole lot of things coming up in the fall. Don't miss any of it. If you're a subscriber, you won't. And we'll throw up a couple of these latest reviews right here, and you can check those out. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.